Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I formally declare open the Submissions Committee meeting of the Colac Otway Shire on the 11th of August 2026. Is that better? Start with the opening prayer. Almighty God, we seek your blessing and guidance in our deliberations on behalf of the people of the Colac Otway Shire. Enable this council's decisions to be those that contribute to the true welfare and betterment of our community. Amen. I'd like to start this afternoon by acknowledging the traditional custodians and lawmakers of this land, their elders past and present. Please be advised that this meeting is recorded and live streamed with the exception of confidential matters. This includes the public participation sections of meetings. The live stream recording of this afternoon's meeting will be available on the website as soon as practicable. By participating in open meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of the information they share at the meeting, including any personal and/or sensitive information. Note that all councillors are present with the exception of Councillor Buchanan, who is an apology for today's meeting. I move to item 3.3, the confirmation of minutes. I propose that we move to confirm the minutes of the Submissions Committee meeting held on the 14th of July 2026. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hudgell. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McCrickard. A motion before us, councillors. We'll now put to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Dew, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 6-0. Declarations of interest. Are there any? No declarations of interest. We'll now move on to item 4, verbal submissions from submitters. Council appreciates the community's submissions on today's agenda item and values the effort put into both written and in-person contributions. Councillors review all submissions thoroughly and find them very useful. Today, people can restate or highlight parts of their submissions. I will now read the names of registered speakers. So please raise your hand when your name is called. Either John Cameron or Catherine Barrett. John, thank you. And Christina Sestokis. For the second item, Tracy Simmons. Mary Ann Crowell. Thanks. Please note that this committee will hear submissions today, but no decisions will be made at this meeting. A decision on these matters will be made at a later meeting. We'll now move on to the first item, item 5.1, planning permit 23/2024-1 3036 Colac Forest Road, Forest. We have two people that have requested to speak. I'll first invite John Cameron to speak. You've got 5 minutes. I'll give you a heads up if you get to 4 minutes. You've got a minute to go. Thanks.
Thank you. I am John Cameron, and my property is 34 Turner Drive, and my neighbour's properties in numbers 30, 40 and 50 Turner Drive drains all runoff from the steep slope proposed for this development through a stream that runs through our properties. We are all concerned the stream will become a contaminated area. This proposal is little different from the application rejected by the Planning Committee in 2012. The current plan is 4 lots, but one half of the property is for the owner's own house and the remaining area is divided into 3 lots that are all above our properties. For us, the density is not much less than in the refused application. There were 4 lots above us then, and now there are 3. Officials recommended approval in 2012 of the subdivision proposal, but councillors refused as they had concerns about stormwater disposal, effluent disposal and bushfire associated risks. VCAT upheld the decision of the councillors. The current application assumes that every owner install a high-tech treatment plant which must run 24/7 without fail. The equipment will fail if it is turned off when the owners are absent, or if it is not constantly managed and serviced, or when Forest has one of its frequent blackouts. Forest has many occupied blocks without sewage. Treatment plants might not be installed at all. The land capability study, I consider, is flawed. Some examples. It is not clear if the correct wastewater standard has been used throughout. Soil samples were taken in places remote from 2 of the proposed effluent fields. Low flow plumbing is assumed in the unfinished house that's on the site that doesn't have final approval. Reserve effluent fields are not considered. The applicant has already installed linear disposal trenches on one of the effluent fields. The EPA requires council give permission for trenches, and permission can only be given if an LCA approves. But the LCA that we have says the area is high risk and the primary fields could fail in even moderate rainfall. For this reason alone, the application is in breach of the general environmental duty under the Environment Protection Act. In 2025, in Dance against Colac Otway Council, the tribunal said that it would review fire risk regardless of CFA authority and expected consistency in decisions. Fire assessment of this land is a picture of inconsistency. It would make sense to avoid litigation and remove the inconsistencies now. For example, one lot is assessed as bushfire attack level 19, but lots on either side of it are 29. In 2012, the CFA considered the upper part of this land of proposed lot 4 as fire zone. This is where the applicant plans on building her own house. The CFA thought the area at that time should be taken out of the subdivision. In 2020, the CFA assessed the entire property as in the fire zone. The fire risk assessed in the application may well be much higher than you have been told. Not long after this application, I'm sure you're aware, Forest was evacuated because of fire. The site would have been one of the first to burn had the fire continued its path. In 2013, the tribunal said specifically in relation to development on this site, the precautionary principle should be applied in cases such as this.
You just got a minute, John.
The risk is exceptionally high. Decision makers should exercise considerable caution and approve development only when satisfied that it is highly likely that people and property will be able to survive the worst expected conditions. Policy suggests that without that comfort, it is foolish and inappropriate to allow development such as this. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. I now call Christina to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors, for the opportunity to speak today. Clint and I purchased our block in 2021 because we and our family fell in love with Forest, and our intention is to live there permanently. We're not developers, we're future residents. Our block is township zone. It's not farming or productive land. It's well within the Forest Township boundary, and council structure planning has it identified for infill development. From the outset, we actively engaged with neighbours and worked closely with council officers to ensure our proposal was appropriate and feasible. Council officers didn't treat our application as a tick box exercise. They worked diligently to ensure that all planning requirements, as well as planning committee and VCAT concerns relating to the previous owner's 8-lot application, were fully met before we proceeded to public notice. You'll have read, and you've just heard, many statements to the contrary from objectors. These are designed to discredit Clint, myself, and our application. As you'll see in our written response, many of their claims are false, inflated, or based on hypotheticals, and we trust that the facts in our written response and application will speak for themselves. For context, less than half of our neighbours had objections, with one of these largely withdrawing their submission after they read our first response document. Most objectors live downslope from our property, so are naturally concerned about stormwater and effluent management, but their concerns don't accurately reflect the real or even potential level of impact, as you'll see in our written response. Conversely, there are many other residents in Forest who are supporters of our proposal. Every aspect of our application has been carefully considered and rigorously assessed. All internal council departments have confirmed that our subdivision meets their requirements, and all external referral authorities have provided consent with standard conditions. Prior to public notice, council planners verbally advised that their recommendation is to approve with relevant conditions. I'd like to briefly outline why we believe you as the planning committee should support this recommendation. Firstly, as you've heard, many objectors or some objectors argue that our proposed subdivision is just pretty much the same or a rebrand of the former 8-lot Newlands proposal and should be rejected on this basis. The facts show the complete opposite. Our 4 lots all exceed 4,000 square metres, only 3 of Newlands 8 did. We'd require 1 tree to be removed with offsets to be paid for 7 others that wouldn't be physically removed, whereas Newlands required 15 trees to be removed and up to 30 additional ones affected in total. Our access way is short, permeable and avoids stormwater impacts. Newlands required a 150 metre bitumen road with street lighting, and all of our effluent fields are located well upslope from neighbours. Newlands placed 3 of these fields only 3 metres from Turner Drive properties. These are not small differences, they're fundamental, and our subdivision should not and cannot be judged based on the Newlands one. Secondly, every lot can safely and reliably manage effluent on site. The nominated treatment systems exceed EPA requirements and produce effluent cleaner than the EPA's advanced secondary treatment standard. The land capability assessment clearly shows that there's plenty of space to appropriately and safely dispose of treated water and effluent on our site with no impacts to the environment, downstream properties or to the VCAT deemed waterway. Our construction of the treatment system and disposal trenches for the existing dwelling on Lot 2 clearly shows the real-world feasibility, both financial and physical, of effluent management on our block. Thirdly, stormwater impacts are negligible and fully manageable. Council officers originally advised that no specific stormwater management would be required provided our lots were greater than 4,000 square metres. Nevertheless, we submitted a conceptual drainage plan with our application to demonstrate how runoff would be managed. During the meeting with objectors, or subsequent meeting, it became evident that that wasn't good enough for the downstream properties, so we added a new commitment to prepare a formal stormwater management plan that would demonstrate how post-development runoff can be retained on site or, if needed, intercepted and diverted before it reaches downstream properties. This goes beyond what's technically required, but we want neighbours to feel assured that they won't experience any adverse impacts. Fourthly, bushfire safety is actually improved, not worsened by our proposal. CFA have provided consent for our subdivision. Every dwelling will have mandated defendable space, 10,000 litre firefighting tanks and BEL compliant construction. Compared to the current open paddock with no enforceable fire management, the future state provides more water, more access, more vegetation control, reducing the risk for surrounding properties, not increasing it. And lastly, as mentioned previously, native vegetation impacts are minimal, and we've also taken additional steps to protect regrowth and plant additional native trees on our block. In closing, councillors, your officers have confirmed that our application meets and addresses every requirement of the Victorian planning provisions, every council standard, every external agency's expectations, as well as all VCAT concerns relating to the previous owner's 8-lot application. We've demonstrated genuine care and responsiveness by listening, adapting and compromising, and our subdivision is low impact, environmentally considerate and thoughtfully designed by people who love forest and intend to live there. We respectfully ask that you approve our subdivision application, not just because it complies, but because it represents a balanced, proper and orderly approach for our block that's highly respectful to the environment and to neighbours. When all the facts are considered, they really have no stronger argument than not in my backyard. Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Thanks, everyone. There's an officer recommendation in the report. Does anyone wish to move that as the motion? Councillor Howard. Is it to be seconded? Councillor McCriggott. Councillor Howard is the mover. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, we do appreciate the time and effort that the submitters put in and the proponents. It does help with our deliberations. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McCrickard? No? Any other councillor? Nope. We have a motion before us, councillors. We'll now put it to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Dew, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Shrams, carried 6-0. Thanks, councillors. We'll now move on to item 5.2. Planning permit 67/2026-1, 80 Forest Street South, Limonite. The two people requested to speak to their submission. Firstly, I would like to invite Tracy to come up and speak. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, councillors, management and council officers. For the benefit of anyone tuning in, my name is Tracy Simmons, Director of PAR Planning. I continue to thank the Council Planning Committee for their good work and for your time today and the pending decision you have at the next council meeting for our planning application at 80 Forest Street South, Limonite, for a new dwelling on 1.2 hectares, or otherwise known as 3 acres, of vacant land zoned farming. For quick reference, and before you get our PAR planning detailed submission at the next council meeting agenda, the subject site is opposite Belvedere Drive, an emerging new residential estate in Limonite, and on the adjoining fringes of the existing residential Wayuna estate. Today I'm here to speak on behalf of Mary Ann Krell, also daughter of the deceased local farmers Kevin and Nita Scalen. Some 50 years ago, in the 1970s, Mary Ann and her sister Jo, farmers' daughters, sat at the family farm kitchen table, stating the unfairness of farm succession planning with their parents. Why only the sons? Why not also the daughters? Like any of us, women from farming backgrounds, a common reality, often with little success. Not for Mary Ann and her sister. As a result, her parents gifted them in 1981 the subject site we talk about today. A lot to be shared between the two of them, and on the understanding they would sell when the time was right. That time is now. Mary Ann needs to sell this lot on the valuation with a dwelling planning permit to fund her entry into retirement care, now without her husband or sister having both passed in recent years. Her brother, Brendan Scalen, is here today to show his strong support for our proposal. He owns the surrounding farmland, having purchased it from his parents many years ago. Brendan does not object to our proposal, nor has anyone else, through the advertising, objected to this application. It is very clear that Mary Ann's subject site and Brendan's farmland are changing, as both sit within the residential growth boundaries of Colac and are noted in the Colac strategic mapping for potential rezoning for farming to either be low density or rural living zone. Wayuna Farm at 105 Colac Lavers Hill, Limonite, is owned by their brother Dion, and some of that former farmland is now part of the Wayuna estate housing. Brendan and his family have had development plans since 2018 for proposed 52 dwellings on the same lot, if not similar lot size to Mary Ann's subject site. Her lot will basically sit in the middle of this proposed and likely pending development estate that also includes 12 hectares of public open space and extensions to Beachy Line Rail, subject to approval, of course. Mary Ann's 1.2 hectare lot is not included in the development plans. It is shown only as a vacant lot that stands independently. Her site is not necessarily to support any proposed internal roads or open space requirements for the estate planning of her brothers. In summary, discussion about the loss of agricultural land is now irrelevant. Without the proper support from council, there is a risk that her small lot will remain incorrectly zoned for agriculture, already far too small to sustain. Mary Ann does not have the funds to rezone the small lot herself, nor should she be forced to go through that process on her own. Mary Ann wants to enjoy the remainder of her life in the secure, safe professional care that is now needed. We owe it to her and all farmer daughters that now find themselves on their own that opportunity. Our dwelling proposal includes a lovely set of dwelling plans for a 4-bedroom rural residential home from the local Rhonda from Taronga Bayview Design and Drafting, which will overlook the large.
Tracy.
Thank you, which will overlook the Lake Colac and the township, an opportunity for a family to make a new start and to watch the residential growth of the area. It is more than likely that it will surround them on all sides of the lot. All matters such as property access, septic and significant landscape policies have been addressed with council planning. On reflection, not even the two young Scaling family daughters in the 1970s could have predicted the future we see today. And now, Marianne stands before you asking for your help in seeking approval for our planning application. Thank you for listening, and we hope we have a favourable outcome is reached. Thank you. And
Thanks, Tracy.
I think for the first time I've gone under time, have I?
Just.
Thank you.
I'd now invite Marianne. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr Mayor, councillors, management and officers. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. As Tracy just informed you, almost 50 years ago, my parents, Edna and Kevin Scanlon, gifted the 3 acres, 1.2 hectares at 80 Forest Street South to my older sister Jo and I. Dad chose that spot because of the beautiful outlook over Colac, Lake Colac and the surrounding areas. The land was zoned farming and has always been used for farming. When my parents had the title drawn up, I was studying in Melbourne to be a teacher. My first teaching position was in the country in Hamilton, and eventually I returned to Melbourne where I met my husband Robert. After a long teaching career of almost 40 years, I retired with Robert, who had worked in industry as a health and safety manager. Sadly, Robert passed away after a brief illness at the end of 2020. Prior to Robert's death, in May 2019, I had attended an independent panel hearing as part of the Shire's 2050 growth plan. My submission to have the 3 acres rezoned from farming to rural living didn't seem to go anywhere. So then, with the COVID lockdown, Robert's passing, followed by my sister Jo's passing in 2022, plans for the 3 acres came to a standstill. So with my brother Brendan's support, I was introduced to Tracy. Tracy has the background knowledge, planning experience to assist in achieving the requirements for me to gain a planning permit for the 3 acres. Without Tracy's support and expertise in this area, I would not be here today. I ask you all to consider and support my application for a planning permit for 80 Forest Street South, Eliminite. I rely totally on the sale of the land to secure retirement living with the security and support my parents hoped I would have at this stage of my life. Sincere thanks for listening.
All right, thanks, Marianne. That's all of our speakers, councillors. There's a officer recommendation in the report. Does anyone wish to move that as the motion? Councillor Dudu, is it to be seconded? Councillor McCrickard. Councillor Dudu as the speaker, as the mover. Thanks.
I just want to say thank you for taking the time to come in, and all of your submissions were really well thought out, and it's really important for us to be able to get an idea of your perspective, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor McCrickard, seconder. All good. Any other councillor? No, we have a motion before us, councillors. We'll now put it to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Dudu, Councillor McCrickard, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Hare, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 6-0. Thanks, everyone. That concludes all of our items on the agenda. Appreciate everyone's time and effort. Thanks, councillors. That concludes the Submissions Committee meeting. I declare this meeting closed at 1:55 p.m.